There's apparently supposed to be an open letter out by Sue Gray to Jacinda in regards to being, how do you put it, incarcerated. And did you hear One News tonight? They actually stated...
I watched some of that. It was just, well, I was watching Counterspin, which happened to be focusing on TV1 News at the same time as they were airing it, and about the feces on the ground and... you know, the cops, the advisor saying, get the kids out of there. Yeah, the kids are the only things that, it's ironic that they're using the kids as a leverage tool. You know, get the kids
because
out.
they know that they can't get them out of there if they've got the kids in there.
Exactly. And it's not like they're using, and it's not like it's a violent, dangerous place. Everybody's looking after each other from what I can see. There's none of this.
Well, it's that, and the fact that what I can't figure out is how are all of those people going to court tomorrow when One News quite clearly stated they were all given trespass notices. However, the police could not lay charges because they'd only been able to give the trespass notices.
Day 6 of the convoy protest in Wellington, and our Deputy Prime Minister's patience is wearing thin. Will the police take action on those camping out on Parliament grounds? Those numbers have done little to deter the protesters camped out at Parliament on day 6 of their occupation. We'll go live to Kushla Norman in Wellington in a moment, but first, here's her report.
If the deluge didn't deter them, will musical torture? Apparently not. The world's most hated songs have been blasting out of Parliament's speakers at all hours. British muso James Blunt even offering up his own derided ballad. After a weekend of pelting rain, their determination is clear, as are the logistics to feed this crowd. On the back streets of Thorndon, we found this pop-up kitchen. 2 days ago, police said that they were working with council to shut down such operations.
Where do all the donations come from?
From the public.
It looks like you're really settling in for the long haul.
We're here to ensure that the mandates are taken away.
Tell us about what's going on here.
We're making food.
It's quite the operation.
I don't want to consider it.
The council is aware of this food-making operation here in a former garage. As you can see, they weren't too pleased to see us, and it can get pretty hostile in there, and that's the reason why the council don't want to send their people into places like this without the support of the police.
Then, down this side street, another discovery. Protesters are now occupying part of the backbencher pub. The owner arrived this morning to find his dockway taken over. He thinks there's about 60 people through this door.
This is the new normal. These are my new neighbours. I've got to get on with them. There was no point ringing the council. They appear to be dysfunctional. The government appears to have lost total control.
The protesters seem to be gaining more ground. A former police negotiator says that the standoff can only be resolved through mediation.
It's important that we identify 5 or 6 people within those groups, one from each group, that we can take to a neutral location and talk.
It's all starting to wear thin for Wellingtonians.
They should be getting rid of by now, destroying the grass, destroying it's like, come on.
It's a little bit annoying for us who live here. I think the police are doing the best they can. Slightly annoying. Yeah.
Should probably just go home, I think.
The party's still in full swing tonight, with little sign of slowing down.
Kushla's with us for an update. Kushla, the police have just spoken to media in the past hour. What's the plan?
Yeah, Melissa, the police told media that their strategy remains to try to appeal to key figures in this protest group, although they admit that this technique has not worked so far. What the police want to try and do is to get these cars to a staged area, and they're saying they'll facilitate this and make sure that it's secure. They want to return this protest to a lawful protest and open up the streets of Wellington again. The superintendent, though, also alluded alluded to sanitation being an issue at Parliament grounds and not just COVID, although that is a very real risk. He's described the situation there as squalor. He said that there's feces on the ground and children are playing in the mud. He said this is no place for children, and he urged protesters to get their children out.
I also would like to appeal to those organisers and those people down there in terms of a real concern to me, over and above the health stuff, is the presence of children. Quite frankly, this is no place for children, the environment there, and I can only but encourage you, common sense, remove them from the environment.
The superintendent couldn't guarantee of when this whole thing will be resolved. He wouldn't give any timelines or deadlines, but he did say more resources are being pumped into this and Wellingtonians will see a greater police presence this week.
Kia ora, Kushla Norman in Wellington. The Deputy Prime Minister's patience over the protest at Parliament is wearing thin. He told Q&A that their threats are taking a heavy toll on politicians' families. It comes as MPs' offices have been vandalised with anti-police and government messages. Here's Q&A's Jack Tame.
The right to peaceful protest is at the core of democracy. But the Deputy Prime Minister thinks the occupation outside his office has crossed the line.
I do find the rhetoric of these protests highly disturbing. There was chalk writing on the forecourt of Parliament that wanted to hang politicians. Our families see that.
Overnight in Otaki, the offices of Labour MPs Barbara Edmonds and Teresa Nobi were vandalised. And although much of the protest at Parliament has been peaceful, some of the demonstrators have made death threats.
The Prime Minister, as everyone will have seen, has been the subject of harassment and threats. All politicians have had more of those in recent times. I have. The thing I think about, Jack, in those moments is not me, it's my family and the families of other politicians. They didn't sign up for this.
While he stopped short of telling police what to do, it's clear Grant Robertson's patience is waning.
And ultimately, this protest needs to end. It's in the hands of the police as to how they do that. They are the operational masters of their destiny and we have to trust them.
For police, though, it's complex. Trespass laws won't allow for the arrest of those at Parliament, and despite health orders which prevent large groups of people gathering in COVID red light conditions, one legal expert says it's an issue of consistency. In previous protests during COVID restrictions, including the Black Lives Matter protests, police didn't arrest people for being in a large gathering. But then this demonstration's starting to head into different territory.
And some of the rhetoric coming out is, verging on hate speech, threats to kill. This is beyond trespass and some minor willful damage and public inconvenience. If we get to both a swelling of numbers, that it looks like there could be further public affray, that might be an appropriate time for the police to step it up, really.
But if Wellington's weather hasn't been enough to move the masses on, it's not clear what will.
Yeah, it's because it's a civil matter and they won't be going to court.
Yeah, no, but apparently that's what's happening is the whole lot of them are going to court tomorrow.
For what charge, though?
Because even that Brett Power, apparently he's got to go to court tomorrow. That's why he's trying to bring some sort of case in regards to it.
But for what charge? I mean, he had resisting arrest, although he wasn't arrested for anything. I mean, resisting arrest is only a secondary charge. You'd have to be...
Yeah, and that was what was surprising, because even the 5 women that went to, sorry, it's been confirmed, 6 women that went to Arahata prison, all of them, it was just to do with them not signing the document. So therefore, where's the charge?
It sounds like they haven't, like, to me, I reckon they haven't signed their bail papers, because that way they wouldn't go. But then you'd still be wanting initial disclosure as to what the criminal charge is, because police only deal in criminal matters.
Yeah, and one of the ladies, an older lady that came out, she said that the woman that went off to Arahata were literally sent there because they would not sign the trespass notices.
But you don't have to sign a trespass notice.
That's the stupid part about it.
It gets issued.
Yep, it's just like how, when was it? I think it was only a few hours before that all happened. There was those. Oh, sorry, it was Monday night because it was Monday. No, sorry, Tuesday night. Tuesday they got their Tuesday night. The Parliament security were going around trying to give each person a trespass notice. However, the trespass notice that they were handing out from Parliament was of no use to anyone because they were trying to hand them to people and they hadn't got the details of the person to hand it to. You can't just hand a trespass notice without the details of the person.
Exactly, you have to trespass that individual.
That's right, and so they were literally walking up, just handing it like this, and expecting them to take it and then go away. So one of the young guys had kept the one that they gave him, and as the cops were going through the crowd the next day, he's trying to put it in their vest to get them off.
As it should be. Don't trespass.
Well, yeah.
I'd like to. Now you found that interesting stuff about the current owner.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him trespass the police.
That's exactly what he was trying to do. The day that he came up to the lady that was up on the pillar, but it had Chantal Baker's phone, live cast. That's what he was trying to get, some help to get that done. But she said, "Oh, Chantal won't be back for a little bit later." He went away, and less than 2 minutes later, she turned up.
Oh, what? So just bad timing.
Because that Papa Honey guy, he was. I don't know exactly where he was last night, but he was somewhere cooking up some food in it, and he was saying that he had managed to secure accommodation for 20 people over in Wainuiomata, and he'd also secured some of the marae, but unfortunately you had to be double jabbed to go to the marae. But he was saying that one of the people there knew the guy, his name was Anaru, but he didn't know his last name, but he knew roughly how to get in contact with him. So that's what they were trying to do, because the guy on the letter that's within that application, Tapu Churton, he's the principal claimant on behalf of that Anaru. That's apparently what has happened. So the guy that was trying to get a hold of Chantal, he's the actual claimant.
Oh.
So how that document says, I think it was 1846, was when that Taringa Kuri ended up getting partial ownership of the land. Like it quite clearly says in that document that Crown have got one, like basically half of the ownership, but he has the land ownership, they have the building. Yeah, the silly thing was, it wasn't actually that hard to find that information. Like I just typed in who owns parliamentary grounds, and it came up under one of the libraries. So I was like, okay, well, in that case, then I thought, well, it must be under that Taringa Kuri, and so yeah, I searched that, and then I searched, does Taringa Kuri own the grounds?
I'll bring it up on my other screen so I can see it, so I know what we're talking about here. Because this is the document you dropped in my folder earlier, eh?
The one with the yellow highlighting down. What page is it? On the document I think that I did is page 9, because I just brought it up on my screen as well.
Protest.
But it's something that they're choosing to ignore simply because of the fact that if they acknowledge it, then okay, the police don't have any authority, jurisdiction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even Winston Peters was interviewed and said that yes, they shouldn't be doing what they're doing there. However, it is Māori land.
Okay, so he's the pink name.
Yeah, Taringa Kuri. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, it sort of in a way made me laugh when I read that, because I know what the two words mean in Māori, and it doesn't. It's sort of like if you read them back to front, it's dog ears.
Oh, really?
Well, Taringa is your ears, and Kuri is dog.
Correct. So ears of dog.
Yeah. So it's sort of those three names there, that Waikato and Wakataranga. They are the three people that were claiming back then. Sorry, 1842. I thought it was 1846, but it's 1842. But if you read down a bit further, the 1, 2, 3 paragraphs down, I think it is. Maybe a bit further down. Hold on a minute. There was a paragraph in there where it tells you that the Crown got a certain amount, and it's in regards to the different plums. where is it? Yeah, there we go. The so hold on, let me just count how many done it is. Where are we? So that's near the end of the page, page 10, the paragraph one up. How it reads on the third line up from the bottom. The court awarded accretion to the Crown and only the one Rood 19 purchase to that group. So they got half ownership. They had the land and the government had the buildings.
And only
but they won't want to admit that because that means that the Crown has no official hold over the land, and therefore police have no jurisdiction because they're under Crown.
So
they
basically the accretion to the Crown and only the one Rood 19 purchase to. What's a one Rood and 19 purchase?
So 19 purchases is if you take an acre. Apparently, a perch is like if you say you divided an acre up into 10 lots or 20 lots, they got 19 perches of that acre.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, and and a Rood must be another measurement.
The Rood is like when you how can you put this? Like when you buy a house and you put both your names on it.
Yeah.
Similar to that, it's like a half ownership.
Okay.
So basically, the Crown got half ownership of the area, but it was to build on, not to have the land.
Right.
Going by what I was reading there, it was all in regards to like these particular ones used to have the land out in the hut, and then they had the hut wards and stuff like that, and so it went to court, and then the court decided it was better for them to come back in and take over the land from Te Aro to Naronga. And then the company that wanted the land to move out to the hut because it had flatter lands for growing their potatoes.
Right, makes sense.
Yeah. So why would you want to try and grow potatoes all over the hills?
Well, okay. Well, is that all?
But
just
the reality of it is the guy writing the letter.
It's one big main story there. After what page?
I think it's page, it starts from Kaifara, the Kaifara Kanga, which is page 8. Page 8 at the bottom. That's why it says Ngāti Tama, and then it says condition built over, because the government built over the land.
Okay.
Yeah.
What page is that on?
Well, going by the document I've got up on my screen, page 8. If you go to the bottom of page 8,
does it have a number on the bottom, like 215, 315?
4 of 15.
4 of 15, that's the one I'm looking for, because it's not telling me what page I'm on. Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it is. Okay, Ngāti Tama, condition builder.
which is why I purposely highlighted in the court document Ngāti Tama, because they hold title over the land. The government is able to build over them.
And so that was the condition that the government was allowed.
That's my understanding of it. My understanding of it could be wrong, but going by that and going by the fact that Tuffy Churton has said they have claimed they're the land claimant, that would make sense to the document.
Yeah.
Because the letter up further at the top, that's what he says, is that it's he's saying, please take notice that the occupation of Parliament grounds is sanctioned under authority of Ngāti Tama Te Kaya Trust. The Crown does not hold clear title to Parliament grounds, and ownership is still to be resolved. As the Crown is fully aware, Parliament ground sits on the former Ngāti Tama Raurimū Pa site belonging to Taringa Kuri, our great-grandfather.
Okay.
So he's been pretty clear in where it stands. Until such time as you can settle a claim with us, you don't own anything. You don't own that land. We can allow them to occupy.
Pretty simple, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, it's strange how everything when you go through law tends to end up pretty simple after all those years they study for.
Yeah. Well, they've studied on how to make it more fucking difficult than anything else.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
To see how many different ways they can shaft you. And
exactly.
I mean, it's like with this shit that I'm expecting is going to happen with all of these people getting bloody arrested and shit. Everything's going to be full up, but of course they're going to arrest as many as possible because Well, that's more money flowing through the system. That's more lawyers getting paid. That's more Crown employees getting paid. It's why don't they just go and start a royal commission right now and earmark 50 million over to it, because I'm sure they won't mind wasting 50 million on something to make it look like they're doing something when in fact they'll do whatever the fuck they want anyway.
Well, exactly, and it's like today. There's a group out there that we're doing all the donations there, and the guys put up receipts, and they've just been out and bought a whole pile of new gazebos and marquees, and they ended up spending just alone today on the donations. So it shows you how many people are donating today alone. 5,000.
Well, and I saw again on One News, they're going after the food, the little garages and stuff where they're trying to make food and stuff to keep everybody going.
Yep, and they told them to go away. The guy put the cardboard in front of the camera.
And did you hear about the noise torture overnight they tried with them?
Oh yeah. But did you see what the Freedom Coalition did?
Well, I knew that they were playing the Macarena, and then every now and again you'd hear this. Don't forget to get your COVID vaccination fucking getting played over it. But
and then the Freedom Coalition brought in their own concert speakers and set up their own DJ tent. So there's been like the most one that most of the crowd got up and danced to was "We're Not Going to Take It." So they're playing all of those types of songs through the thing. They said we're going to stop soon because the kids have got to sleep. But it was not how to put it. It wasn't a surprise to hear the head cop come out and say, "Really, the kids shouldn't be there." Well, of course you don't want them there. You can't trample the tents and get the adults out.
Yeah. I mean,
that's the reason they've been there so long, because they can't go in and trample.
What was the other little comment I saw on TV? Oh, that's right. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern is losing patience.
Well, that's strange. So is COVID.
Yeah. COVID's losing patience. I'll tell you what, though, the vaccine centres will be losing a lot more patience. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Apparently trespassing, resisting arrest, and also obstruction.
Oh, okay. So that's what they've laid charges for. Trespassing.
The old amazing disorderly conduct didn't get thrown in there for good measure. That's their normal go-to. But yeah, disorderly conduct, obstruction, which is just another name for contempt of cop. And
so how do you get obstruction from the fact that they obstructed them, not the other way around?
Well, to me, it would all fall as to who has legal right to be there. And it all falls on the protesters to having legal right, because the owner said they have legal right. I'm pretty sure the owner didn't ask the police to step in there and start fucking being heavy-handed on the people that were there.
And they started arresting dozens of protesters who were camped out on the grounds on the very third day of their protest against coronavirus mandates. And frankly, I'm surprised it took the police that long, because New Zealand is a tyrannical hell state at this point. They have that weird prime minister with her weird little teeth. Making all these weird edicts, and I'm not saying any. I'm not making that a character judgment. That's how I remember her. And they've been one of the worst lockdown jurisdictions in the entire world, let alone the Western world, the civilized world. So frankly, I'm surprised it took 3 days. I expected maybe the first 24 hours we would see stuff like this happening to peaceful protesters in New Zealand.
Some of these videos are so horrible. I know that producer AD was just showing me the video of a naked woman being dragged out of the crowd, and I thought that it was like a doll. The way that they were throwing her around, I was like, that's a human being. Like her poor spine. They're like this one right here. It looks
Look
like
at that. Were they pulling her hair?
Yeah, they were pulling her by her hair.
These men, they couldn't have moved that woman another way.
No. And then they try to cover her up for decency.
For dignity.
But head first.
Yeah.
Just cover her head. I thought we were anti-police brutality.
He put his knee on her head.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Look at this. By her hair. That woman is not bigger than me.
No.
She's maybe 120 pounds, maybe.
Yeah, it's really sickening.
Yeah, well, that guy Andrews, he said that what he said to them was they need help from someone that could write them a legal letter to the government, write them a legal letter on their behalf to the government to say, hey, cut it out. We want you guys off the land, not the protesters, basically.
Yeah. I love this little document you've made here, bro, because it's first rate.
Well, whenever I do the court documents up, I always try and cover every aspect of it, because if you don't cover every aspect of it, straight away they're going to get Crown coming back and going, well, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Okay, so are you saying the documentation that is held in your National Library is wrong as well?
Exactly.
I get you might say that the land claimant might be wrong, but how does the history document be wrong? Does that mean you've got everything in your National Archives incorrectly?
Well, they'll just be pissed off that someone's actually got a copy of that document, because if anyone right now is trying to do an OIA for it, do you think they're going to respond?
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the silly thing is,
what do people have to do to fill out on this? So Okay, so
all you got to do to fill out on this. Okay, I'll go to the top. You don't have to touch anything at the bottom.
Shall we screen? You want to screen share it? Okay, I'll just.
It sort of reminds me of doing the appeal we did in Crown, setting it all up so it had to be done all digitally on screen, and couldn't work it themselves.
Well, as you can see, I've made it.
So where it's got PRN, CRI, all they've literally got to do is fill in whatever number comes under their case.
Right.
Where it says under that, you don't do anything. It says to district court rules, and that's exactly what it is down under there.
Yep.
So you don't need to do anything.
Yep.
Yep. And then where it says in the matter of New Zealand police versus, you can just. Oh, by the way, all of this, if you are using it on a phone or a computer, mainly a phone, I think, because I don't know if fill and sign works on the computer, but using Adobe fill and sign, you can just put your select text and put it over it, and then type what you need. So where it's got New Zealand police, you just put New Zealand, whereas versus, you just put your details that they put the charge under. Then you go down to where it says and just above defendant, your details go in there.
Yep.
So it just has to be your name.
Yep.
Then you scroll down, and when you get down to filed by, it's just your name, address, and email, and phone number. You don't have to give your phone number.
You don't have the DocX or the doc version of this, do you?
Yes.
Do you want to send that to me, because it'll be a lot easier with people with MS Word to put their name.
Oh yeah. Yep. I can do that, because I always make a copy of the Word, and then
you get what I mean, eh? It just makes it
easy. I just put it in PDF version, because a lot of people, when they go to it, what they do is they go to add the words in, and it shifts everything.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be easier to do it this way, and then that way they can just click where they want to type the thing, and they can move it around to place it in place.
Yeah.
So that's the PDF, yeah. And just naturally, you don't know when the next event date is, so you leave that free. But this form is also done where it says underneath the main banner there, filed pursuant to Section 24 of the Epidemic Preparedness Act. The reason that's in there is because under red light, we can't go into the registry unless we're vaccinated. Okay, so what the reason that I put that in there? Okay, that allows you to file by email.
Oh, okay. So Section 24 is just the law that allows you to do it via email instead of having.
So when they say to you, only lawyers can file by email, no, they can't. That's why I put it on all of our documents, so that whenever we're filing
email every damn time. And the last
but they have the right to refuse that, because it's only through lawyers and that you're able to do that. Only legal counsel is allowed to do it through email.
I could have sworn I actually read somewhere in the Criminal Proceeding Acts, but again, this is criminal side, but on the Criminal Proceeding Acts, as long as you've filed it on that date, and I can always prove it with an email that shows what date it was filed, then that was considered served. So
yes, but from my understanding, that's in the High Court. District Court works differently.
Okay.
Because I know that the High Court is still accepting filing by email, whereas the district courts, they'll say to you, you've got to come in and file it. So I thought the easiest way,
how do you do that if you're not vaccinated?
Exactly. So that's why I thought, okay, well, the only way for them to be able to do it under red light is put that in there. They can file by email. And that's what it like. There was a couple of people that reached out from the convoy lot, and I sent it to them, and I said to them, and I sent them the email. I just said, just file it by email to this email address, because you can't go in under red light.
Because do you know what Wellington's District Court email address is?
I haven't. I don't know it off by heart. I'd have to go and look it up, but it's in the. Actually, hold on a minute. I might be able to.
DC. Wellington.dc.
Something along those lines. I just got it. Why can't I get into my main screen? Oh, okay, hold on a minute. I think I'm on your screen. I don't know. Oh, okay, I can't access any of my other screens, so I don't know why. Okay. I think it.
Are you on?
I think it's you're probably Wellington DC at govt.nz. I think it would.
I'll tell you what we'll do.
Somewhere along the lines of that.
We'll have a look.
Oh, that's why I'm on your screen. I was looking going, where do all these things come from? I don't have those things on my computer.
Here we go. And there it is right there. Can you see my screen there?
Yes, there it is. Yes, that's it.
So it is. It's wellington.dc at justice.gov.nz. Yep.
So, yeah. And because I thought, okay, well, when it comes down to it, there was like 100 and something people that were arrested. Be interesting to see what the outcome would be of 120 emails going through before Monday.
They won't like that much. So,
no. So when you get down further, it's just where it says, may it please the court.
Filed
you
by,
don't do it.
Filed by you just fill in your name, address, and email address, or name, phone number. Your address.
You can put like your email address or phone number if you don't want to know your phone number. It's probably easier to do it by email, simply because they always email you everything back.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not very often they will call you, so if you don't want to know your number, just email.
Yeah, exactly. You'd be hopeful if they do ring you.
And so where it says, may it please the court, where I put the left a gap saying, I make this application on the following grounds, you just enter your name.
Yep. Okay.
Then you scroll down a bit, then you scroll down to the bottom, and you just need to be able to sign it all. So everything else in there is all of the thing. So when you get down further, you keep going down. There's the relief sought, is that it is sought that the proceeding brought before the court by New Zealand police be struck out due to it being frivolous and or vexatious and otherwise an abusive process. Sign it down the bottom, date it, and right underneath it, if you haven't got a lawyer at the time, self-represented. I just didn't put it in there just in case they do get a lawyer.
Sure. So you've got the option there underneath the date and signature. Piece of cake.
Yeah. And then there's the annex A.
It hurts. Right.
Yeah. So basically, it's just. Yep.
So who sent this to Trevor? Tufty Churton, or Tuffy Churton?
Tuffy Churton.
And he's Rangatira of Ngāti Tama.
Yeah. So he's got he's the principal claimant.
Okay, and I take it he hasn't heard back from Trevor yet. Trevor's just too busy worrying about getting the sprinklers on than responding to.
Well, I suppose the expression that would happen would be he sent the letter and hell didn't freeze over yet.
Yeah, well, true. And then you got
although they seem to be wanting to play the Frozen song along.
Yeah. At Red, our libraries are open with COVID vaccine pass. Yay.
Yeah, it had a red banner across the top, but when I printed it as a PDF, it didn't come up with that.
That's all right. So, pass 12 and 3 months. Contact tracing and face masks required. Community staff. So why have we got this in here?
So if you scroll down further,
see,
out of the document, it's under the Wellington Libraries.
Oh, okay. So it's showing the source of where you got it from, in fact.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if they're saying it's wrong, that means their National Library is holding the wrong archives.
Well, as you can tell by this blooming email address here that's at the bottom of every page, it kind of gives them where you got it from. So there's no question as to,
Well, I figured if I just printed it as a PDF, then if it's wrong, then it's coming from a source that's supposed to be national.
Yeah, that means
it's the truth, isn't it?
And that's supposed to be it from one of them crowd. We should be listening.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So
yeah.
Okay. Known iwi hapu connections is Ngāti Tama. So that links him to the first document that we saw to Trevor.
Yep. And that's why it's got the name in red to show that the name is listed.
Yeah. Taringatukuri. And Ngāti Tama remained in the key though and had not understood that the 1839 sale at Petone to include their kinga.
Kinda, yeah. But see what it comes down to really, it just shows you the history of things, because it just goes to show you that each time the Crown dealt with Māori, okay, go back to 1841 where they did the Treaty of Waitangi. They didn't make sure that everything was understood at all. They just did it on the grounds of, okay, well, we'll get it rewritten in English and you won't know what we wrote.
Exactly. And we'll translate how we see.
Nothing's really changed there. I mean, to me, the only the document that still stands is the 1835 Hifakapatanga, because if you like all the chiefs had an understanding of what was happening, whereas in the Treaty of Waitangi and stuff like that, they didn't. Well, going by what I've read, they didn't really have an understanding.
Yes, because not all chiefs signed.
Yeah, and that because they're not all chiefs signed, but there's also the fact that okay, you can turn around and have a discussion with someone, and unless you've made sure they clearly understand, and they should, if anybody should realise this is the government. At the end of the day, what do we all have to do when it comes to hire purchases and stuff like that? We have to make sure that what the person signs within the four corners of the document that they fully understand. But yet, Crown law and Crown cannot uphold their own end of things when they get people to sign documents.
Yeah.
They do not make sure they fully understand what's within those four corners of the document.
Sums it up.
So realistically, yeah, that's what it comes down to every time. Every time you read back in history and they've signed something or something's gone through the courts, okay, just because the person in the court has said this is what happened, the people who are the plaintiff and the applicant that were going before the court, plaintiff and defendants, okay, did they both have a clear understanding of what the outcome was? Because if they didn't, you're always going to have a fight on your hands.
Yeah, and of course, this paperwork is supposedly supposed to work if you're actually in a court that issues justice that is impartial and unbiased. I'm not saying we've got that in New Zealand.
Yeah. I mean, the relativity of it is when you go into a court setting, you are going in there with the understanding that if you put the evidence before the court and it's overwhelming evidence, the outcome should be obvious like it is to the parties involved. Whereas but if you got one party that can see, okay, this is what should have happened, but the other party, the way I would normally put it is this, okay, if we're all going by the same legislation and we're playing by the same rules, then the outcome should be the right outcome. However, it never is, and the reason for that, it doesn't matter whether you enter family court, criminal court, the high courts, whatever court you're entering, and whatever forum, it's never going to go in the favour of the person who's trying to get the right done, simply because if you're playing in the same level field, then you've got a chance. But when you've got people that are dealing with, like, for instance, the top Crown lawyers and stuff like that, okay, how you interpret the legislation, which could possibly be the correct way, may not be how they feel it should be interpreted. And then you've got how the judge or the justice that's dealing with the case, how they interpret it. So you've got three different...
It's up to the ref's interpretation unless one of the other two parties can't convince them that their interpretation is better.
That's right, but at the end of the day, if you're all reading one document, the interpretation should be the same.
Well, but that's where you've got some judges using like Oxford Law dictionaries instead of legal dictionaries to give you the definitions of things.
I was reading about a what's it called? I've got to find that document again. I think it was 1875 Blackman's Dictionary.
Oh, really?
And it's to do with all the laws, and it states in there that, okay, the reason why you go to court when the police charge you, like with anything, like I've started redoing the documents the way I do them differently now. So where it goes plaintiff, instead of me putting my first name and last name, nope, first two initials and the last name. Why? Because according to Blackman's 1855 Blackman's dictionary, if you've got the initials, the first initial and the last name, then the court doesn't have any jurisdiction to deal with you. However, they can deal with the other party if you name the other party. So therefore, going by that dictionary, I've got to find a good copy of it and make sure everything's correct. But going by that explains to me why you get, for instance, you go into a high court. Now, when do you ever see on any judgment or a judge's minutes, they put their full name? It's always their initials, then their surname.
Exactly.
Why?
Right.
Because you then can't come back on them because of the fact that if they've only got their initials, there is no jurisdiction over them. It also explains how the judge gets the immunity, because they're using their initials rather than their name.
So that's how they skip getting held accountable, because they're not there. So in which case they're not really signing it with the full faith or in clean hands, are they? Because
that's right. But what it also means, okay, is that if you can get the judge's full name, right, then you take away the judge part of it, which removes the title, and you write the document out.
Like my friend Timothy Black, you mean? I think his middle name is Michael, isn't it?
I'm not sure actually, but yes, what it means is that if you were to turn around and go use the first and last name, okay, the title is not held under that name.
Okay.
So therefore you've brought them in as a person instead of as the title name.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm slowly going through things, because that's what I want to be able to do, is take those sorts of things and use them in a way where through the court system where they can be done. Because there's too many people out there that get put, how do I put this, come subject to conditions set upon themselves by other people, namely courts and judges, and have no recourse on that. But when I saw that,
I've just done an interview with Amanda earlier today about the JCC Act and how it still doesn't have anything in it to discipline or remove judges.
But it does, though.
Oh, sorry, to remove, but not to discipline.
Yeah, no, but that's the whole point of 11, 14, and 21. Is you can bring that forward on it. From memory, it was 11, 14, and 21.
And that's the Judicial Conduct
Act, it should be.
Judicial Conduct and Other Panels Act or something, I believe it is.
Yeah, I only had a quick squiz at it, but I just remember 11, 14, and 21. For some reason, I remember those numbers, because I know at least one of those says that they must investigate, even though they're under Section 8 all of the time when they respond to your complaints. It says that with that... Oh, there we go.
This is why I do it this way, mate, so we can all see the same thing. Okay.
I was just thinking, how am I going to get to there? Yeah, see the function and powers of the commissioner, right?
Purpose first.
Yeah.
So it's there to con people, to enhance public confidence and protect the impartiality and integrity of the judicial system. God.
Well, first of all, I would say you have to have impartiality and integrity to be able to protect that.
Exactly. Try working on that first. So, number 8. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. See, functions and powers of the commissioner. Now, this is the section that they always use to be able to go under Section 8. Okay, we cannot take the complaint. That's basically what is said. And each time a person gets a document, Section 8 they refer to. They never put the subsections. That I didn't see subsections in my one that came back. And then I thought, okay, what is this? Yeah, because I hadn't heard of that act before. So I looked it up, and I went through, and I think I went to 11, 14, and 21, because I was reading through each one bit by bit, because I think there's like 35 sections of that, 35 or 36 sections.
So the function of it is to receive complaints and to examine those complaints and make recommendations.
Yes, that's right, and that's under that section.
So
however, later
on here about disciplining or removing.
Yes, but that's where the rest of the act comes into it.
Okay, right. So let's have a look at, what did you say? 11.
Yeah, which complaints must be dealt with, right? Yeah. See, so like they've got to deal with every complaint. They can't just turn around and go, I'm not going to deal with this because I don't need to.
I'm sure they deal with each complaint. They just say not upheld.
Well, in that respect, but then you go through the act a little bit further, and you see, like it says, taking steps like, to deal with the complaint, they must take the steps in section 14. Okay, right. So then you go to 14, and you see that no, they've actually got to go through and do the written acknowledgement. They've got to go through and do the things they're supposed to do. However, I think his name's Alan Ritchie. I can't remember, but
well, he was, yeah. I think it's Peter Chamberlain now or someone like that.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, they still have to turn around and follow through with your complaint.
Peter Montgomery, I believe, is that he used to do the America's Cup stuff. He's always out in the water with Peter Montgomery. He's I think since Alan Ritchie, I think, has left. And
right. Okay.
Montgomery is now in, because I made a complaint about my buddy Tim Black a few years back in 2017, and Ritchie was just leaving and Montgomery was, I think. Okay, it was established in August 2005 after the report from the Special Rapporteur said the old Justice, I forget her name now. I was talking to Amanda about it. It was all because they found it that what the judges were doing was tantamount to criminal fucking hindrance and obstructing.
I think an important thing for people to know when you make it a conduct complaint, because I made one ages ago, and then they said there was no proof of it, and that there was no recording. And I said, well, it wouldn't be a recording because it was done at a judicial conference, not a hearing. And so this time, okay, for anybody out there that wants to know this, okay, what the best way to be able to make a complaint about a judge is to mention if you want directions in regards to something, and then when they at the end of a judicial conference or whatever, you want directions, and they will turn those directions down. However, those directions must go in the judge's minute. So therefore, you can then submit that minute to as your complaint because you've got it in black and white. The interesting thing to find out would be how many of those complaints were Section 8. How many of them were not investigated due to Section 8?
Well, okay. So if we were this is like looking at 2015 to 16. No further actions is 15A. Oh, here you go. Under Section 8B, complaints referred to head of bench as on outset because of conflict of interest under Section 8B.
Yeah.
And recommended to look, gee, they made a lot of recommendations, didn't they?
Oh, heck yeah.
That's 5 years.
Yep.
And so they had let's see, there was quite a few conflict of interest there, wasn't there?
Oh, yeah.
So there's 7 conflicts of interest over a 5-year period. Referred to the head of bench. And what did the head of bench do? Fuck all.
Nothing.
Judging by these throws. And complaints withdrawn. Well, people withdrew their complaints, probably because they knew there was no fucking point in continuing.
Well, yeah.
And exactly, you know what will actually happen if there is, it's like the lawyer, New Zealand Law Review Office or the NZLRO. If you go there and on the rare occasion they do actually find against a lawyer that is conducted wrong, the lawyer will then have to pay the New Zealand Law Society a fine. But the person who spent 3 or 4 years of their life exposing the lawyer and put all of their time and energy still gets nothing. So the Law Society makes a killing when a lawyer does something wrong. But the person that they wronged gets nothing. It's just so wrong, mate. But anyway, carry on.
But that's where, like, what you're talking about there, see, if you've got something to say that they did wrong, that's when you need to do a civil proceeding against them to be able to get compensation for it. Because even though the Lawyers Society may have turned around and said, okay, no, you're not, they don't have to give you anything. You've already proven that, okay, got it proven that, yes, the lawyer did wrong, so it could not be denied in a statement of claim. So when you do your statement of claim, there's no way in their statement of defence they could claim it was incorrect, because with your statement of claim, all you simply have to do is put the outcome of what happened into that with that statement of claim as your evidence, and that's going to be very, very, very hard to deny, and you'll more than likely get a settlement out of it without actually having to go to the court.
Let me introduce you then to Section 272 of the Law Con Act, or the Lawyers and Conveyancers Act.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Section 272?
No, I haven't looked at that.
Here you go. Protection of New Zealand Law Society and New Zealand Society of Conveyors and other persons.
Yep.
Neither the New Zealand Law Society nor the New Zealand Society of Conveyancers nor any member, in other words, anyone who's a member of the bar, that's a member of the Law Society, officer or employee of either of those bodies is to be under any criminal or civil liability in respect of anything done or omitted to be done, or in respect of words spoken or written.
Yep.
That's their get out.
And I'd agree with that, except for the fact of take away the title and you're a public servant still anyway.
Nice.
So if you remove the title, then, and you don't go them as the lawyer, you go them as the person.
In their personal capacity instead of their professional capacity.
Because within the public, I think it's the Public Sector Act or the Public Service Act, it's the same as any of the, for instance, Olangi Tamariki social workers. They are all under Section 444, they hold no liability unless they have done
you're gonna love this one. So basically, much like our friend the Prince of York has just gone through, he's just lost all of his titles, so then he can be pursued by Virginia in his personal capacity, not as the Duke of York. So he's lost all of his titles, removed the titles, so now they can go after Andrew.
That's right. So under the common law, you're going after the person as a person, not as the title they hold.
Yep, as a natural.
Yeah. So they can put all that protection in place as much as they want, but that's with your qualifications. Strip the qualifications away and make them a person, they're no longer covered.
They're just a natural and legal person in their private capacities that you can strip.
That's right. And see what they will always do, and what they will always turn around and do is they will always try and use the initials and the surname. Okay, so you just name them fully with the first. You only need the first and last name. As long as you've got those two.
So as long as when you're filing documents, you make sure that when you're writing yourself down, hang on, let me go back here again. So when we go right up to the top here, so if it was you filing, you would just put your initials and last name, but you're filing against, and then you would name their entire name there. They have no way of getting out of it, and you're still covered.
Where it says New Zealand Police, don't put your first name, put your initial and your surname. Where it says defendant, first initial and surname, the court's got no jurisdiction to deal with you anymore.
Yep. But if you were but for instance, if we were the ones being the prosecutor or the plaintiff,
then
you would just put your initial and last name. But when you're going after the defendant, say the lawyer or the corrupt politician or whoever, you just put their full name, and that way they can't dodge it. They can't.
That way they can't dodge it because you're not. Because if it's between and you're the plaintiff and you put your first initial and last name, you haven't given the court jurisdiction over you. But if you've named the first name of the defendant and the last name, you're giving the court jurisdiction to deal with that defendant. On your behalf.
We've basically thrown them some meat to go and gnaw on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And
so but that's why I say, even though all of these acts have got these different things in them, it's just based on the fact that, okay, if you, they're basing their different legislations on the fact that you don't have a clue. You don't know that if you strip them of their title, that they just become a natural person. And if you've got a natural person, the natural person can be taken to court.
And if they don't know what a natural person is, they can look up the old Interpretations Act, but it's now in, I think, the Legislation Act or the Legislative Act. It defines what a person is. Used to be Section 29 of the Interpretations Act 1999, but they've gone and rescinded that one, and it's all just been taken over in the Legislation Act.
Yeah. So realistically, it's like when you get people who are dealing with, I'll go back to it, owner accommodation, and they're looking at uplifting a newborn child.
Yep.
Okay? Rather than turning around and naming the child, you know what name you want to name the child, give the child's first initials and surname. The court has no jurisdiction to issue any orders.
Or warrants.
That's right. So they can't issue anything because there's no, the child's first and last name gives the jurisdiction to be able to deal with it.
Which is why when you register your child at birth,
you do it under sovereignty.
Yeah, you're giving up the sovereignty because you're giving them their first and given names and their last name or family name.
That's right, yeah.
You no longer become born, you are being birthed into a society.
And what it also means when you give the first and last name, you're also giving them under contract because you gave a first and last name. Yep. And so what happens realistically, if you look at it from that point of view, which is done in law, what's really happening is mum and dad, without having a clue of what's going on in legislations, registering the child to give them as contract to be able to, like where do people think that the country gets all of these loans from? It's on your names.
Yeah.
They are using you as guarantor.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, you know, at the end of the day, they don't realise that
the old Declaration of Human Rights, mate. I mean, involuntary servitude is illegal, obviously. Voluntary servitude, by you doing it through your own ignorance, that's still perfectly okay.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to.
Yeah. And so that's why, like some of the people that I've helped through the courts, and that's why I've turned around and said to them, like I've had a mum that said, yeah, okay, well, I'm due to give birth in like 4 months. So I just said to her, look, the easiest way around it is, if you're going to register the birth, just register the birth as being the child's initial, not the full name. That way they cannot issue a warrant, an order, or anything from it. They need that first name to be able to give that. So before you even get anywhere, take away their ability to do so within the frames of law.
Yeah, can you imagine that then come out high? We've come to uplift T.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like
W. Is Q home?
Yeah. I mean, it's like the one a while back that was done in Auckland where they turned around and the judge issued a uplift order for an unnamed baby. And she was saying, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. Name the baby. The minute you name the baby, the warrant's invalid.
Exactly. No longer unnamed.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things of going through stuff. I mean, like that stuff that I put in the documentation in regards to the you know, for the court for the protesters.
Yeah.
That was all of about 10 minutes research.
Not a lot, really.
And then the document.
Oh no! What were you going to say about Brent's paperwork and the judge?
Oh, okay. So Justice Gwynn, she did the she struck his application out. Now,
and the application for
he was trying to bring charges against Andrew Little. He was wanting the Governor General to remove Jacinda Ardern from Parliament and the current Parliament. According to the write-up and stuff, she said he had given all the correct evidence. However, it was contained within the statement of claim. And also the reason it couldn't proceed and the reason that it got struck out was that on a statement of claim, you have background to cause, and then you've got cause to action, and then you've got your statement of claim. So he's put his evidential part within the statement of claim, and that should be within an affidavit. So from that, from your evidential part, you've got to be able to write up what your statement of claim is about, what you are accusing that person of doing. Okay, but none of it has any. The court has no authority to look at it until you give the cause to action. If you haven't written out cause to action, you will not get. It will get struck out.
Exactly.
You must give it a cause to action. And I can't remember the whole 10 of them, but there are 10 cause to action.
That's what he missed out then. He didn't. It was just getting it in the right procedural sort of context on the paperwork.
Yeah. So what he did was what should have been contained within an affidavit was his statement of claim. So realistically,
so
Well, no. What he had done was he had the evidence, but what he should have put in an affidavit and then based the statement of claim off of that, he's done it the opposite way around, and he's put what should have been contained in an affidavit in the statement of claim.
Okay.
So realistically, for him to be able to bring that case is not really, like, going by what I read, it's not that much to fix up. You just got to be able to copy and paste the statement of claim into an affidavit, exhibit all your exhibits, and then state, like, he hadn't stated how.
Almost like you've got a thoroughbred ready to get out of the gates, but he just hasn't opened the gate to let the kraken go, so to speak. And without the cause of action, the gates stay closed and nothing else happens. You have to do that.
Yeah. So that's basically what it comes down to. Like, you've got to take your, like, for me, when I draw up something like that, you get all your evidence together, and then once you know what's in your evidence, you draw up your statement of claim based on that evidence.
You're almost backwards, aren't you? Yeah.
Well, you pretty much have to, because when it comes down to it, like, for me, as you're going through a court case, what you've got to be able to do is each time you get a judge's minutes, you've got to read that judge's minutes to determine where your next move goes to be able to bring you into the right place.
Oh, of course, because the judge will usually say in the minutes what the next bit is you have to do, or what he's planning on doing, so you can counter it. You know?
Oh yeah. So like, I mean, going by what she had written up, because Justice Gwynn is a female, but going by what she had written up, he had everything there in the for an affidavit and the supporting evidence. He just needs to do his statement of claim correctly and put a cause to action. That's all he has to do. But he's got to be able to turn around and state, like, it sounds like what he's done, because I obviously haven't seen the paperwork, but it sounds like what he's done is he's made the accusation against Andrew Little. He's got the supporting evidence according to her. However, how does the supporting evidence show that Andrew Little did these things? How does the supporting evidence show that the government that's in there should be removed, and why should the Governor General remove the current government?
So in other words, the cause of action is who pulled the trigger. Is, you know, yes, the gun killed someone, but you need to know who pulled the trigger. You need to know the link between the person and the action.
Well, realistically, I mean, for me, reading what I wrote, to me the cause to action would be crimes against humanity.
Yeah, and that's in the Crimes Act, 1961.
Yeah, so you'd be like, to see what he's trying to do is he's trying to get charges put on Andrew Little. But within your statement of claim, you've got to be able to put the relief you're wanting, and you've got to be able to do it via the detail of legislation. So if you can't do it through the detail of legislation, they're not likely to give you the relief you seek. Yeah. So if he's wanting him charged for certain things, then he's got to put that in the relief sought. If you want the Governor General to do their job, then you've got to find the legislation that tells them that they must do that job.
Yeah, and it's all defined in legislation as to how they must act and what they must do. It's just pointing it out to them, because they're as ignorant as everyone else and don't bloody know what's in the legislation and what the rules are and what they must do. What they do, they don't.
In your evidence, you can have all the detail of law that you want and the point of law that you want. But if you can't show which legislation to use to administer it, you've got no case there, really. That's really what it comes. That's what I've learned over the last. Well, how long have I been looking up law now? 23 months.
Yeah, that's pretty good going.
Well, it was just a case of having to, because I mean, I would come straight out and say it. You know, any person who goes and gets a legal aid lawyer, okay, that's a joke. Because at the end of the day, the only thing you're doing is like back in the old days with the cow ad. Where are we going, Murray? Milking, dumbbell.
Yeah.
All they're doing is milking the system.
Yeah.
The longer they can keep you under the illegal aid, the longer they make money.
It's like the lawyer for child, you know. Every kid on a lawyer for child through Orangutan Mariki's getting what, 9,600 a year or 12,000 a year.
Oh, I wish that was true. I know that the one on our case is between, I don't know if it's just a one or if it's the whole lot, but just under $500,000.
Wow. What is that
lawyer for
per year?
Lawyer for children per year. There's the lawyer for child up in Auckland on the list that was getting 2.6 per year.
Oh, people wonder why we've got no money for everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's like there was one lawyer. I won't name the lawyer, but there was one lawyer that we were told to contact up in Auckland, but it's just as well we didn't, because at the end I found out he was a lawyer for child, and he's another one of the Auckland lawyers that is claiming around 2.2 million a year in legal aid.
So he's on the gravy train.
Oh, that's pretty much all they're there for. And like, I did ring him, and as soon as I mentioned it was about, I don't tell anything, there was no chance. And I realised why when I found out. Okay, he's actually a lawyer for child.
Yeah, so that's why he doesn't want to go against the grain, does he?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, like, there's people out there that need help, but how do they get help? And all of the lawyers are just, okay, well, we'll talk amongst one another. I won't let my client know, and we'll just decide this is the way it's going to go. And I mean, that's been happening for how many decades now?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's like I said to someone else, so what, you expect change after 50 or 60 years? You've got at least another 50 or 60 years, because these governments don't listen. The courts don't listen. The only way you're going to get change is if you can manage to get a court system that's got judges that have actually got a heart and empathy. We don't have.
I tell you what, I've got to laugh, because on that, you saw the TV1 thing about the protesters and that tonight, and the guy from the Backbencher pub. Now, they had him on there on the first or second night or whenever they showed it, and he was there, oh, the council needs to do this and blah, 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 needs to do this. And yet tonight, well, you know, expect the council, but clearly they can't do anything. They're useless. You know, he's done a complete 180 on his views of the council being able to do anything to help, and the government doing anything to help, or the police doing anything to help, because he's got 60 people camping out in his back storeroom.
Yeah, it was so funny, because the other ones that were doing, like, I mean, I don't know if you noticed or not, but there's a lot of them that are doing lives directly from the grounds, and there's one lady, Chantal Baker. She's been like having like between 4 and 6.
Following Chantal, she's pretty good.
Well, isn't it strange how all of the stuff that's got done by the mainstream media doesn't show the truth of what's actually going on that's coming up on their lives?
Oh yeah,
and that. I mean, look at the young girl that was dragged out naked. Like, if someone else had turned around and put up, does anybody have footage from before that happening to show that everything was peaceful, and then after showing it was peaceful? So I went and found the piece and clipped it, and then PM'd them and said, well, I've got it if you want it. Give me a PM.
Yeah, and it's like I think Calvin was saying too, you know, to all of these vandals that have been vandalising the MP's offices. Well, they've all got CCTV. So why don't they just show on? I mean, if there was, in the old days, if something was wrong and there was a burglar caught on CCTV doing something, that would be all over the fucking news. So why aren't they getting the footage from that showing who did the vandalising? Or perhaps it was themselves or agent provocateurs that actually did the vandalising, and they just want to blame it on whoever they want to blame it on.
Oh, exactly, yeah. And that's what it'll come down to, because like I remember the night we had a
feces thing going on, that there's feces all over the ground of Parliament. What rubbish. I never saw it. The live broadcasts aren't showing that, and the kids all seem happy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so that's why they like on the one news tonight. That's why that head cop was saying, you know, really they should take the children out. Well, okay, you want the children to go out of there so you can turn around and raid them all and get them out. That's what you want the children out for. You're not got any concern about the children's safety. It's if we can get them out of there, we can get all of the tents out. That's what it is.
He's in complete mode there, mate, because you can tell, and everybody watching that's got even half a molecule sense in their head knows exactly why he wants the kids gone. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If it was for the protection of the children, they wouldn't be fucking trying to jab every one of them in the arm.
Which made me, in a way, sort of like they did a parody song of the Dolly Parton's one, Jolene. That cracked me up. It just said, Adoon, please don't jab my kids just because you can.
God. Oh, Dolly.
That was. I thought that was quite a crack up. But you know, the reason I put that paperwork together was I couldn't see if like most of those people had come from out of town, and the likelihood of them getting some sort of decent representation at the court. Okay, you're going to have a legal aid lawyer sitting there and having rolling in the money there. So I thought, well, if you put some documentation together and put it out on the page, I put it on that truckers convoy page. And got a couple of people that came back and said, yeah, well, could you help us with whatever that was? So I sent them a copy. Then one of the guys turned around and says, I actually know quite a few of the ones that got arrested, so I'll distribute it out between them because it's a PDF. And I was like, that's the whole purpose of it, because at the end of the day, how many of them aren't from down here? How many of them aren't going to be able to get the representation? Whereas they could just file that and go, okay, well, you need to discharge it. You may still have to turn up to the court, but at the end of the day, you can get a discharge.
And there's also the other point that if they aren't from Wellington and if they plead not guilty, they're going to have to return to Wellington for every hearing.
Exactly, because unless you plead guilty on the charge, you've always got to...
Exactly. It's only if you plead guilty that you can get it transferred to another jurisdiction or another town, basically, to another court's jurisdiction to be dealt with.
And that's why I thought, okay, it's better
not guilty. And why would they plead guilty? Because they, as far as I know, haven't been told what they're even charged with yet, other than that obstruction bullshit.
Well, going by TV1, they've been charged with nothing because, according to the reporter there tonight, they had all been given the trespass forms, but couldn't be charged because they hadn't gone back. So what are they going to go to court for on Monday then?
Yeah, exactly.
But I just thought, to try and help out in a way that's possible. Okay, I know how to build the court documentation, so why not put that out there so they can at least have some chance of defending it?
Right, I'm sure they're all going to be very appreciative of it, So hopefully this little chit chat will clear it all up for them so they know exactly what's going on, and I'll get this edited and up overnight and spread it far and wide, chuck it to you, throw it on the live chats there on Counterspin.
Well, I did, when I first did the documentation up, I did send it to Chantel Baker.
Sure.
Hoping that, okay, she might see the PM, but she hasn't seen the PM because of what I was saying I just said to her, you've got a lot of followers and you'd be able to put it out there and everybody can get it.
I'll just, like I say, I'll put it, this, as you've already done, is put in a drive. I'll just make another separate copy of this so it's not in you and my folder, but so I'll make a separate folder for others to all use, and that link will be in the description so anyone can get it. So
yeah, well, it took me a while to realise I was going, how can I get? Oh, hold on, I've got Google Drive too. I can just put a link up through that way. So I was setting it that way.
It's the way, mate. It's the way.
Yeah.
And it's, although I found out that some of the links that I did for Amanda for her JCC complaint to the UN, when you go back into the document now, they've actually killed some of the links.
Oh, it's like they must have picked
how
up
they
on
managed to do that, but the link is no longer valid, and yet I've copied and made a new link, and that works. The file's still there. It's just killed the link somehow.
Yeah, I think I made the mistake of I went to send it through Facebook, right? And then I go and send a link to Dave, send it across my PM to be able to get it back to me.
Oh, and you get
this. It tells me no, I can't do that. Thing. It tells me no, I'm restricted from sending any files.
So Facebook's stopping you?
Yeah, Facebook's stopping me sending any files. I was like, oh, really? Well, that's all right. Can you stop it going from a Google Drive?
No, they can't.
Yeah, and then I went on to do
I used to frame up controversial videos that I kept on Google Drive, and I've only ever had the digital act kick in where Google's actually removed the file from my drive because of some complaint or copyright. But I've only ever had that once. But other than that, all my files I share, they stay shared. So yeah.
It's like today I would because I like every now and then I'll make up the frames that go around the profile pictures.
All right.
On your face. And so I went to do that today. Imagine my surprise when there's only certain companies that can now make frames. Really? Yeah. All of a sudden, since the protest has come up, nobody can make frames. And I was like, oh, so you think you're clever, right? So into Inkscape, get the frame. And so I took the image of the protesters with the police where they had the line, and I put that inside, but did a cutout of it and chucked that on as my profile pictures. Right? And it just says on it, Freedom Fighters 2022, underneath hold the line. And it's got a picture of people doing a protest.
Oh shit, did you see what happened with that boxer?
Boxer?
No? Oh, let me show you. I just thought this was brilliantly done and top notch.
Okay.
All right. He just said this on live TV, right? So he's just won a boxing ring.
Yeah.
All of the frontliners down in Wellington are fighting for our freedom.
Oh, so he's going there too.
Yeah, he just says, I'd just like to say to all the front line people holding the front line, I'll be there soon.
Yep.
I'll see you soon.
Yep.
Well done. I thought that was brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
It was on live
Exactly.
TV and he's spitting that out. Brilliant.
I wonder how many people will follow him down. Because someone
trying to say that we're copying Canada. Sorry, these guys. We've been doing the convoys and shit for fucking many months, up and down, driving backwards and forwards down through Christchurch with the huge convoys of people. You know, Canada may have beaten it with the truckies type thing, but not everybody. And what is it over in Melbourne or over in Aussie? They want to get 5 million people together. That's it. They're not stopping.
That's what I was saying to Fee the other night, and to the missus and that, realistically, if it was like the Million Man March over in America, they might actually stand up and listen. But if the reality at the moment is, if you look at what's been done in Wellington and the fact of what's been shared around, half of the police that are coming out on the rotations are not sworn police officers.
No.
Half of them are not actually police officers. There was an ad put out for people at $25.38 an hour. All you have to do, and these are the shifts, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Was it Thursday, Friday, and Saturday? You won't be expected
12-hour shifts, $400 a night plus.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when it comes down to it, they were good. That's why you only saw on those days certain officers dealing with the crowds, because the other ones they're not actually sworn in. And the police guy, I can't remember what his name is, but he actually said that the ones that are nearing graduation at the college in PARAM have been put out because they are near enough to sworn in. Near enough, not sworn in, but near enough. So as a lot of people put it, okay, so how many of them get charged with impersonating a police officer?
All of them should be. But then I'm sure that they'll just pass some quick legislation overnight when people aren't looking to allow the police to deputise any of them instantly to have the powers of a constable in emergency circumstances or riotous behaviour or...
Oh, hell. When it comes to that, okay, Smokey and the Bandit was in the 1970s and 80s, not now.
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
Smokey and the Bandit. I've got that on my hard drive. I watch that occasionally. Can't miss old Burt Reynolds.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it used to just crack me.
You know what I call my car, don't you? I call my car Bandit, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah. But when they say, I deputise you, it's like, oh my gosh, come on, at the end of the there were so many police there that had no tags then on their shoulders.
Yeah, I've actually got that. I think it's Section 4 of the Policing Regulations, 2008, that they don't have to have the epaulets showing in large-scale events.
Yeah.
Because they might put a cover over them or something and put on a vest so they all look the same. But you're right, they should be identified, but they've given themselves a little out in the act for that. So, Yeah,
but they're giving themselves an out for putting out that we want to hire people to look like cops.
Yeah. I'll have to get a hold of Fifi and see if she can chuck me that.
Because it was her that said it didn't say like the profile has been crossed out as to who it was, but it was actually asking for people to be dressed up as police officers. You will not have to engage with the public, we just need to be able to show a presence there.
Oh, it's funny, isn't it? So they're all shitting themselves. So there's between 8,500 and 12,000 police in New Zealand. There's probably more than that now in Wellington.
I mean, when it comes down to it, like the first
public, I'm meaning.
Yeah, the first couple of days, when I saw the amount of police officers, it's like, okay, where have they all come from? Because Wellington does not have even as far as Palmerston North, does not have that number combined.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way you can have 200 to 300
Well,
200 to 300 police officers in the Barking area in that time.
And if Cindy Deere is losing her patience, she's going to tell all of us naughty children off soon, because I lose patience with my naughty children sometimes.
Yeah. Oh gosh. But yeah, I mean, like when it comes down to it, I mean, like I'm waiting to see what they try and do, because the reality is if all of those people that were dragged out through, like especially all the ones that were dragged out, I mean, you can see several of them getting their clothes ripped off them.
Yeah.
And like just before the lady comes out naked, the guy before her that's getting pulled by the legs gets his shorts ripped off him.
Yeah. It's that's not necessary, because they say whatever force necessary. That wasn't necessary.
And it was the next day, apparently, that the police officer that was in charge said, use any force necessary.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the girl that was stripped on the ground and then pulled out by her hair through the crowd, my belief is, okay, she's got a sexual assault charge against her.
Oh, of course she has.
I'm surprised it took the police that long, because New Zealand is a tyrannical hell state at this point. They have that weird prime minister with her weird little teeth, making all these weird edicts. And I'm not saying any. I'm not making that a character judgment. That's how I remember her. And they've been one of the worst lockdown jurisdictions in the entire world, let alone the Western world, the civilized world. So frankly, I'm surprised it took 3 days. I expected maybe the first 24 hours we would see stuff like this happening to peaceful protesters in New Zealand.
Some of these videos are so horrible. I know that producer AD was just showing me the video of a naked woman being dragged out of the crowd, and like I thought that it was like a doll. The way that they were throwing her around, I was like, that's a human being. Like her poor spine. They're like this one right here. It looks
Look
like
at that. Were they pulling her hair?
Yeah, they were pulling her by her hair.
These men, they couldn't have moved that woman another way.
No. And then they try to cover her up for decency,
for dignity,
but head first.
Yeah.
Like, just cover her head. Like, I thought we were anti-police brutality.
He put his knee on her head.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Look at this. By her hair. That woman is not bigger than me.
No.
Like, she's maybe 120 pounds, maybe.
Yeah, it's really sickening.
And not to mention the willful damage with all the property and tents they destroyed.
That's right. And there's heaps of it. I mean, like, the reality is, this time the police don't have an out as to prove it.
Yeah.
Because it's there.
Too many cameras.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Too many different types of, and from different views and everything like that. You know, at the end of the day, there is no out for them, because they don't have the option of, okay, we got to beat this person up in the cells and nobody can see it. But you did it in public, you idiots.
Well, Brent said, especially after they arrested Brent, they took him around the back, punched him in the head, and gave him a bit of a rough up.
And look at the young 17 or 14-year-old that had the plank done on his head by the Māori cop.
Yeah, it was 17-year-old.
Yeah, and like you could literally see, like there was another video footage of it taken, and you can literally see him in the press-up position pushing down.
Yeah. Until they yelled, and then when he got off, he quickly backtailed it and walked away. And
he was out of there real quick. Yeah. But I mean, like going by all of that video evidence, there is, I bet you anything that what they're going to try and do is, if they try and present that video evidence, they're going to try and say it's not admissible. When it comes down to it, that's going to be that event there would be the closest thing you've got to a class action if everybody came together.
Oh, absolutely. But then again, that's on the hopes and dreams that the judiciary and the judicial system serves the people correctly.
Well, yes, they got to be able to interpret it in the same way that we're interpreting it.
Yeah.
It's either that, or if they don't pay attention to the video evidence.
Smos, mate. What would we know? I mean, we're not legally trained or anything, but I don't know. I think you've had some fun in the court. But going on others, we know that are legally trained. You can still be a Pinocchio and a Noddy, can't you? Yeah, exactly. Dead fucking. So, it's just one of those things. At the end of the day,
You are right. You're depending on the fact that they're going to read the legislation the same way and interpret it the same way. And it's just sad that they don't do that. They just look at it from the point of view. I mean, like, if you look back through, there was one that I was looking at, one of the justices. I can't remember what his name was, but if you look back, he's got like 6 generations of his family that have been justices.
Probably Boshier, Justice.
No, it's one of the ones of Thorndon, because they have their own Thorndon chambers.
Oh God.
Yeah. So it seems to be what I've noticed is
their
that
own star chambers.
Yeah, well, when it comes down to it, what it seems to be, like if you look through, the main justices that have got the chambers, okay, anyone that's got the chambers tends to end up in the end being a justice.
Oh, okay.
It's really, really weird. But everyone that you look up, like if you look up the different justices that are on the wall in the High Courts in Wellington, they're all within the Thorndon chambers. And all of the family going back through the descendants, or going back through their whakapapa in there, okay, they're all been justices. They're all born into it.
Wow. So that's another judicial elite, isn't it?
Oh yeah. I mean, like I was quite amazed because when we went in there the first time, I was looking at all the wall. Maybe it's just me, and maybe it may sound a little racist, but I turned around and said, "Oh, spot the Māori."
Yeah, there wasn't one.
There wasn't one.
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
all of the justices.
The Maori elites have only just started growing up, though. You know, got to give them a chance to catch up with the others.
Yeah, but what I've noticed throughout the whole thing, okay, if you look at it, you can say the same thing about the Māori Lands Courts, because it seems to be only Māori judges there. But at the end of the day, it looks like, okay, we'll put you over here where you can't really make any major decisions.
And I noticed back when I did all that research on all of the judges and how much they get paid, you know, the $111 million a year they all get paid for their services. I always found it interesting that the Maori wardens and the Maori judges were all getting paid just that little bit less than the other staff for the same service, but still enough to keep them happy. You know, might be 50.
Oh well, I would say more along the lines of it's enough that they think they're happy.
Yeah, but when the whole financial system crashes, well then welcome to our bloody world.
Oh yeah, I mean it made it very obvious when, like, that thing I sent you in regards to Jerry Matapai, the Governor General, when he was Governor General, and the fact that all of the New Zealand courts were short of judges. So what do? Bring in the Pacific judges, because it's all here. They turn around and say, no, there's not two different jurisdictions. So then why, when New Zealand needed it, did they bring in the judges from the primary jurisdiction?
Yeah, exactly. Tia Moana and Nui Akiwa.
Yeah, but they don't want to acknowledge that, because that means that if they acknowledge it, if you're being charged or anything like that, it's under the secondary jurisdiction. And if we acknowledge the fact that we brought them in from the primary jurisdiction, we're going to have problems there, because you can claim to be under that primary jurisdiction, and we can't do anything.
Yeah, Jerry stuffed up there mentioning them, didn't he?
Oh yeah. Well, but at the end, it's those little stuff ups that help us when we're trying to do that sort of stuff.
Of course, and it's finding them and having them all collated somewhere so everybody can still get that and access it. Which is what It's why I'm trying to collate everything, and no matter what, help people. That's the whole point.
Oh, and that's the whole point. That's why, like, I was certainly thinking about it when I saw that they all got arrested. It's like, okay, we could go out there and be supporting, because we live in Wellington.
Yeah.
Or I can draw up a document that can help all of those people.
That's what I was saying to Amanda. I mean, she said she'd love to get down there, but kids and responsibilities, she can't. I said, me and Leah, my wifey, spoke just 2 days ago. We'd both love to be down there, but I don't think my fucking gut issues and stuff will help me with the travel. So this is what I can do, is talk to you and talk to Amanda and get that information out there. So we're all doing it. But the keyboard warriors that go on about what the protesters there should and shouldn't do. Well, I always say lead by example. Don't expect others to do what you're not willing to do yourself.
Oh, exactly. And like, see, for me, like when I saw that guy come up to thinking that the lady was Chantel, and asked about some help to write a letter, to me, that's the kind of thing where, okay, well, if we can find him, we can help him draft that letter to them, and even more so, put it into a notice of proceedings and statement of claim and get an interlocutory order done.
Yeah, well, if the guy's watching this and needs to get a hold, I mean, my email address is there. If anybody needs to get a hold of that or get through to Brent, just send me an email.
I mean, like to me, that's the best way that they're going to do it, because they're never going to get the government to listen on the fact that it's a claim. But you can still draw it up in a notice of proceedings and a statement of claim, and get an interlocutory order done without notice and put it in to have an answer the same day.
Right.
You know, I mean, with COVID at the moment, sometimes it's taking 3 or 4 days. But the reality is that's probably the fastest way of dealing with it, and that means you don't have to go through the government. You're going against the government through the court.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I just think that's what and I mean, I've reached out to that Brett Power as well. But like I said, you know, all I can do is wait to see if he comes back. But he may be like me, not even realise you got a message request for a year.
Exactly, man. I get that too. So I don't use Instagram much or Periscope or all those sorts of things, but I do have accounts, and I'll log in there and shit, I've got 99 messages or more than that.
That I've got Facebook, and I don't know how to use the others.
Just too many of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I look at it from the point of view, okay, yeah, I may know how to do the court documents and stuff like that, but you know, when you've got one that you've learned how to use, it's like going from when I went from XP to Windows 10, it's like, oh, I hate this.
Cool, bro. And it looks like I'll be up late doing some editing, but I'll make sure it all gets sorted and up there as quick as can.
Sweet as. Have a good one. See ya.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Have a good
All
one.
good. Yeah.